Om Gam Ganapatye Namaha. Kaliyuga Kalpataru. Appendix. Glories after entering the Brindavana. Chapter 7. The sage who asked for a position was granted a day. Sri Raghavendra Swami Guru has manifested his divine glory in many forms and across many circles, whether it be kings, emperors, local rulers, the wealthy or the poor. He has made no distinction in revealing his miracles and continues to do so. Even 190 years after entering Brindavana, the blessings he bestowed upon and the miracles he revealed to his descendants from his pre-monastic lineage and to the pontiffs of the Matha are astonishing, wondrous and beautiful. At the time this story took place, Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu and Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu, that is circa 1807 to 1826, presided over Sri Madhvacharya's Mahasamsthana, working for the welfare of the world through their vast scholarship. Following them, a great soul named Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu became the pontiff. He was the grandson of Sri Vadindra Thirtharu, who himself was the grandson of Sri Rayaru, and the son in pre-monastic life of Sri Dhirendra Thirtharu, both of whom were descendant of Sri Rayaru's family. His pre-monastic name was Raghavendracharya. Under the name of Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu, he presided over the all-knowing spiritual throne, that is Sarvagna Simhasana, from 1836 to 1861, and was distinguished spiritual leader. Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu was a great scholar in 4 Shastras, and many disciples studied Nyaya, Vedanta, and other scriptures under him, and became renowned scholars. He expounded Sri Madhvacharya's true teachings, including Parimala Sahita, Nyaya Sudha, Chandrika Prakasha, and other advanced texts 19 times, and completed them successfully. When a modern-day scholar composed a work criticizing the revered Chandrika text, Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu refuted the critical work with great precision and composed an incomparable text called Chandrika Bhushanam, which he offered in devotion to Sri Raghavendra Swami Guru. Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu was a great ascetic and spiritual practitioner. He had attained mastery over the 8 great mantras, including the 8-syllable mantra of Sri Raghavendra Ashtakshara mantra. The manner in which his tapas, that is austerity, and yogic powers became manifest is deeply fascinating. One day, while in Nanjangud, after completing the chanting of the great mantra of Sri Rayaru's Ashtakshara mantra, Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu opened his eyes and his gaze fell by the union of dharma and karma on a squirrel sitting in front of him. Astonishingly, the squirrel immediately caught fire and was reduced to ashes. Those present were stunned and praised Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu as a great ascetic, but the saint was deeply pained, thinking, "A squirrel died because of me. This is the result of accepting alms today." In remorse, he refrained from accepting alms that day and prayed to Sri Hari, Vayu, and Guru Raghavendra, fasting in penance. That night, Sri Rayaru appeared to him in a dream and said, "Child, do not worry. You were the cause for the liberation, that is Sadgati of a noble soul. Some years ago, a pious being who had lost his path in yoga, that is Yoga Bhrashta, was born as a serpent and worshipped me for deliverance. I had promised him that when he is reborn as a bird, through you he would attain liberation. Today that came to pass. He has now attained Sadgati. That is why I have made you undertake penance. From now on, continue your spiritual practice in seclusion." From the next day, as per Rayaru's command, Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu began his japa and tapas in solitude and privacy. His attainment of yogic powers was solely due to Sri Rayaru's grace. The greatness of such a saint needs no further elaboration. At that time, Mummadi Krishnaraja Vadiyar ruled over the kingdom of Mysore. He was a devoted follower of Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu. Through the Acharya's teachings, the king became an inner devotee of Sri Raghavendra Swami Matha. The Acharya's elder son in pre-monastic life, Sri Rajagopalacharya, was from an young age a scholar in Nyaya and Vedanta Shastra. as well as an excellent poet in Kannada and Sanskrit. With his divine personality and radiant charisma, Rajagopalacharya gained the king's deep affection and trust. Their relationship matured into a strong spiritual and personal friendship. Desiring to honor him, Mummadi Krishnaraja Vadiyar confirmed the title Raja upon Rajagopalacharya and gifted him lands and wealth. Because of Raja Rajagopalacharya's influence, the king excelled in poetics, aesthetics, Sanskrit, and Kannada composition and was guided towards scholarly refinement. Being a patron of scholars, the king became a learned man and an author. He composed several works and would share them with the Acharya to receive feedback. Due to the association with Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu and his influence, the king became an ardent devotee of Sri Rayaru. Wishing to receive Sri Rayaru's special blessings, the king composed a Sanskrit work titled Sri Raghavendra Swami Ashtottara, an 108-name hymn, and described Sri Rayaru's glory in a manner that touched the heart. He offered this work through Rajagopalacharya to Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu, who was pleased and blessed the king. On one occasion, the king sent an English officer who was serving as a deputy commissioner in Mysore to the Srimata with the intention of handling certain administrative duties on behalf of the king. This request was conveyed to the Acharya through Rajagopalacharya. However, for reasons unknown, Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu did not feel inclined to grant an audience to the English officer. Under pressure from the pontiffs, disciples, and senior Mutt officials, the Acharya reluctantly agreed to the king's request. The English officer, along with his staff, arrived at Nanjangud. The disciples of the Acharya led him to the presence of the Guru inside the Mutt near the shrine of Sri Pranadevaru. In front of the Tulsi Brindavana, a seat, that is Pita, had been placed, and the Acharya, Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu, was seated there in meditation. The English officer asked, "Where is the Guru?" Hearing this, everyone was stunned. The disciples replied, "Sir, the Guru is seated right before you on the Pita." The English gentleman, confused and agitated, said, "Why are you lying? I see only an empty seat. There is no Guru here." Everyone present was dumbfounded. However, the staff who accompanied the English officer, being Indian, said, "No, sir, the Guru is indeed seated on the Pita." The English officer was astonished. He respectfully bowed to the seat in his own British manner and came out of the Mutt. Turning to the Mutt officials, he said, "I have heard that your great Guru, Sri Raghavendra Swamiguru, appeared to Sir Thomas Munro 150 years after entering Brindavana, spoke with him, and gave him Mantrakshata. Today, this Guru, who came in his lineage, has showed me a miracle by not revealing himself to me. Perhaps you forced him to give me an audience even though he was disinclined. Though he agreed outwardly, he chose not to reveal himself to me. A Matha graced by such great souls is truly remarkable. I will gladly assist in whatever matters concern this Sri Matha. I am not disappointed that I didn't receive his darshana. In fact, I am now even more filled with reverence and faith in him and your Matha after witnessing this miracle." Then Sri Rajagopalacharya, the disciple and royal scholar, along with the Guru's sons, that is Sripada Putraru, humbly presented Mantrakshita blessed by the Guru to the English officer on behalf of the Acharya. The officer was pleased and said, "Even though I did not receive his darshan, he blessed me and sent this Mantrakshita. That alone is enough." He then turned to Mysore with his entourage. On that day, everyone present firmly believed that Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu was indeed a true yogi and ascetic, endowed with divine grace from Sri Rayaru, and openly praised him from the depths of their heart. As a result of this miracle shown by Sri Rayaru through Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu, the English officer and other senior British officials issued orders ensuring that all lands, properties, and endowments across the India belonging to Sri Mata was permanently recorded in the name of Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu and recognized as Mata assets. This record was formally documented during his time, and those lands still remain with the Mata to this day. To say that this miracle performed through his dearest devotee, Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu, was extraordinary would not be an exaggeration. Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu never desired to be praised as a great saint or to be hailed as a yogi endowed with the powers of blessing and cursing. Such praise deeply troubled him. He was disheartened that people did not realize that these siddhis, that is powers, were obtained only through the grace of Sri Hari, Vayu, and Guru Raghavendra, and not by his own doing. Feeling unease that the siddhi granted by Sri Rayaru had been used for a worldly purpose, the Acharya decided to go to Mantralaya with a small group of disciples to seek forgiveness from Sri Raghavendra Swamiguru and have his darshan. Having been spiritually uplifted by Sri Raghavendra Swamiguru darshan, Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu, with a joyful heart, wished to remain in Mantralaya for some time and served Sri Rayaru. As days passed, the presence of Guru and the Mantralaya itself became exceedingly dear to him. Being a descendant of Sri Rayaru's lineage, the Acharya desired to attain Brindavana, that is final samadhi, in Sri Rayaru's divine presence. For this, he undertook intense austerities, focusing his devotion on Sri Rayaru. One night, Sri Rayaru appeared to him in a dream and said, "Child, we are pleased by your service. Your wish to remain in our presence will bear fruit, but not here in Nanjangud. We shall manifest in one form at Nanjangud and offer you a divine presence there. Now proceed to Nanjangud." With this message, Rayaru gave him mantrakshata, that is blessed rice, and disappeared. Upon awakening, the Swami, overwhelmed with joy and devotion, reflected upon his wish and gratefully remembered Sri Rayaru's boon of protecting and blessing. With satisfaction in his heart, he offered sacred water, that is hastodaka, to Guru Raghavendra Swamiguru and departed for Nanjangud. Within a few days of arriving in Nanjangud, Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu again received a vision of Rayaru in dream, where Rayaru said, "Your desire will come true. On the third day from today, we will arrive. Begin preparations for our consecration." That is Pratishta. Accordingly, a message was sent to Mummadi Krishnaraja Vadiyar. "We are arriving at Nanjangud. On the appointed day at noon, arrange for our arrival." Simultaneously, Sri Rayaru appeared in the dreams to various individuals. To the devout Brahmins of Srirangapatana, "We are currently by the banks of the Kaveri in this town. Tomorrow come and escort us to the Nanjangud Matha." To a washerman, Agasa, "O man, your daily beatings upon us have been enough. Tomorrow a Brahmin will come to you. Hand us over to him, and you will be blessed." These miraculous instructions revealed themselves to many over the following 3 days, and the entire region was abuzz with wonder and praise for Sri Raghavendra Swami's glory. On the third day, the washerman, recalling what the sannyasi had said to him in a dream, went to Kaveri river, where he washed clothes daily, near a stone he used. There he heard a mysterious sound, "Om, Om." Startled, he turned over the dark stone he had been using and discovered an engraved outline of sannyasi seated in Padmasana, that is lotus posture, within it. As he stood in awe and fear, wondering what to do next, a Brahmin approached him. Just as foretold by Sri Rayaru in the dream, the Brahmin had been searching along the banks of the Kaveri, following his own dream vision, and now arrived at that very spot. Recognizing the fulfillment of Sri Rayaru's prophecy, the washerman narrated his dream and described the wondrous occurrence of the image that had appeared. He then handed over the stone to the Brahmin with reverence. That Brahmin, overwhelmed with joy and devotion upon seeing Sri Rayaru manifest in that stone, bowed in reverence and praised the washerman. He then respectfully placed the stone slab bearing Sri Rayaru's form on his head and, reciting the Guru Stotra, returned and offered worship to Sri Rayaru that very day. The next morning, carrying the sacred slab, he set out towards Nanjangudu. By evening, he reached Mysore. What he saw there astonished him. Hundreds of people had gathered, along with royal honors and arrangements. Upon learning from the Brahmins that he was transporting the manifested form of Sri Rayaru to Nanjangud, the royal representatives was convinced and escorted the Brahmin to the assembly hall. That evening, the Maharaja himself arrived, had darshan of Sri Rayaru, performed aradhana, that is ceremonial worship with lamps, and after offering prostrations, returned joyfully to the palace. The following day, by the order of the king, the royal representatives placed the Brahmin and the sacred stone slab in the royal chariot drawn by a pair of horses, and with full royal honors sent them to Nanjangud. Meanwhile, in Nanjangud, Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu, as per Sri Rayaru's command, had made all preparations for the consecration that this Pratishtha scholars, disciples, and musical processions awaited in front of the Matha. After a short while, the sound of trumpets was heard. Everyone looked with eager anticipation. The royal chariot arrived at the Matha gate, accompanied by Rajamaryadi. The Brahmin, with a sacred slab on his head, alighted and approached. Upon hearing the entire account from him, the people broke out in jubilant praises of Sri Rayaru. Seeing Sri Rayaru's divine form manifested on the stone, radiating abundant blessings and spiritual energy, the Acharya, Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu, was overwhelmed. His body trembled, tears of bliss flowed, and with deep devotion he welcomed Sri Rayaru into the Matha. The crowd, now understanding the immense grace Sri Rayaru had shown to the Acharya, marvelled at his glory and praised both the Guru and the Acharya. Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu then consecrated Sri Rayaru's symbolic form, placing it to the left of Sri Pranadevaru, facing east as per tradition. He performed elaborate puja, offered sacred water, that is Hastodaka, and conducted ceremonial feeding for Brahmins and married women, that is Suvasinis. Thus, for Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu, Sri Rayaru appeared directly in the form of the stone slab, lovingly manifested himself and established his divine presence at the Nanjangudu Matha, where he now resides in glory. In the year 1851 CE, the Durmati Samvatsara began. Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu initiated his Chaturmasya vow in Nanjangud. During the month of the Shravana, the Acharya began to experience bodily fatigue and illness. To ensure that the daily worship of Sri Mularamadeva continued without interruption, the Acharya initiated a learned scholar into the Paramahamsa Sannyasa, someone who was both a renowned Pandit and a descendant, through the daughter's lineage, of his own pre-monastic ancestor, Sri Dhirendra Thirtharu. He was given the name Sri Sudharmendra Thirtharu and was ceremoniously installed as the ruler of the Vedanta kingdom, under the dual guidance of both the Guru and the tradition. As per customs, during Shravana Shukla Pratama, Dvitiya, and Tritiya, the first 3 days of the bright fortnight, arrangements were made to celebrate Sri Rayaru's Aradhana Mahotsava with full grandeur. The pre-Aradhana and Aradhana of Sri Rayaru were carried out splendidly. That night, however, Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu's health worsened. On the day of Rayara Uttararadhana, which fell on Shravana Krishna Tritiya, leading into Chaturthi, the Acharya's condition declined significantly. And while meditating upon the feet of Sri Hari, Vayu, and Sri Guru Raghavendraru, he shed his mortal body and entered into divine contemplation of Lord Narayana. Following the spiritual protocol of the Mahasamsthana, Sri Sudharmendra Thirtharu established the Brindavana, that is final resting place of his Guru, conducted the Uttara Aradhana of Sri Rayaru, and the Mahasamaradhana, that is final rites of Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu with full devotion and reverence. He placed Sri Moolarama atop the Vrindavana, performed Kanakabhisheka, that is a ceremonial golden ablution, offered sacred water, and conducted the Mahamanglarti. He also composed and offered the Charama Sloka, that is a final verse. Sri Rayaru's Uttararadhana and Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu's Aradhana occurred on the very same day. Guru Rayaru, by granting both a secret seat, that is sthana, and the sacred day, that is Aradhana Dina, manifested his divine compassion and supreme glory. From that time until now, Sri Rayaru's Uttararadhana is celebrated along with Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu's Purvaradhana and the main Aradhana on the following days. Whether at Mantralaya, Nanjanagud, or the central Matha, Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu's Aradhana is celebrated in conjunction with Sri Rayaru's Aradhana Mahotsava with great grandeur. With the blessing he had received, Sri Rayaru, who resided bodily at Mantralaya, manifested in stone form, that is, as Sheela Falaka at Nanjanagud, with the Abhaya Mudra, that is, gesture of protection, dazzling his devotees and bestowing grace. Previously, Sri Rayaru appeared only as a line etching in stone, but now at Nanjanagud he appears in full manifested image form. that is Pratimarupa, giving darshan to his devotees. In other places, Sri Rayaru remains in the Murtika Brindavana, that is sacred mud shrine, but in image form, self-manifested, Swayam Vyakta, he shines only in Nanjanagod. By revealing this divine manifestation to Sri Sujnanendra Thirtharu, Sri Rayaru demonstrated his unfathomable grace, declaring to the world his immense compassion and intimate bond with Sujnanendra Thirtharu. The Guru, who was asked for a seat, that is sthana, was granted also a day, that is aradhana dina. How can one ever adequately describe the boundless compassion and majesty of Sri Rayaru? Hari Om. Om Sri Krishnarpanamastu.